Are you stuck on where to begin when it comes to branding? Or maybe your logo needs a major refresh. Or maybe you're spending hours upon hours in Canva and just not getting the results that you want. Today on the show, I have Allison Burns of AllieMarie Design, and she's going to share tips with us on how to take our branding to the next level, where to begin, and what to do if we just don't have the budget to hire a designer right now. We're going to chat all things brand styling, graphic design, what she's done for our business and how it's taken it to the next level, and of course, all things motherhood. I'm so excited for you to hear this interview. She's one of my dear friends. Let's dive in. You're listening to the Girl Get Your Face Off a Bus Bench podcast, where we invite you to check your ego at the app, grab a cup of coffee, and get ready to dive into all things real estate marketing, social media, friendship, hardship, love, money mindset, and all the things that celebrate you as a badass boss babe.
We're here to encourage you, show up for you, give you a loving kick in the pants when you need it most, and be your soft place to land on the hardest of days. So pull up a seat at our table and get ready to be inspired and start living your best life by design.
Welcome to the Girl Get Your Face Off a Bus Bench podcast. We are so excited you're here.
Okay, girls, let's dive in.
Okay, so today on the show, we have Allison Burns of AllieMarie Design, who is a brand stylist and graphic designer here in the Minneapolis area. So Allison has worked with us on all of our visual brand identity for the BPR Experience, Best Personal Brand, the Girl Get Your Face Off a Bus Bench podcast. So we love her. A little bit of history with Allison and I. We go back a few years. She actually helped me with a previous business I was working on, and we instantly became friends. And our babies are actually, well, they're not really babies anymore. Right, Allison?
Sadly.
Sadly. Our babies are 9 months apart to the day. So we kind of have a little fun story there. So welcome to the show. I am so thrilled you're my first interview guest, and I'm super nervous, but much less nervous because it's you. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so honored, and I cannot tell you how honored I am to continue to work with you guys and that you trust me with your brand. It is such a joy. I really believe that. I really feel that.
We would be lost without you. So we brought up Allison a couple times on our first, I think, 2 episodes, and we just absolutely adore her. And I know that she is going to give you info that is going to blow your mind today. So stay tuned for that. I'm super excited. But why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Allison?
Yeah, so I am a brand stylist and graphic designer. My boutique design studio is called AllieMarie Design, as you said. And I love collaborating with small business owners with big hearts to create beautifully designed visual identities that speak to their values and shine a light on their mission. I love working with people who really know their why and who really want to make that come to life from a visual point of view. So love my business. I love my clients. I love the relationships I get to build, like with you and with Beth and all my wonderful clients. And then outside my business, I am a mom of an 18-month-old dear Avery, who is both equal parts sassy and sweet, as you know. And I adore her and kind of adjusting to mom life because it doesn't just happen, right away. It's a journey for sure.
It is. It really is.
Yeah. And every day and every week and month passes. I feel like you being 9 months ahead of me with Kaya, it's like, oh, I get to kind of see what's coming up.
Yeah. It's super fun.
Yeah. So that's wonderful, and learning how to balance, quote unquote, all that. And my amazing husband, Josh, as well. He's wonderful. And I like to, we like to do house projects together, and we live in a suburb of Minneapolis and just bought a house last year. So it's been kind of fun to be settling in and kind of making this new life together here and settling in as a family of 3.
I love that. I love that. We have just loved working with you so much, and working with your friends is, it doesn't get better than that, right? Like it's pretty amazing. It's really, really cool. So I'm just so thrilled to have you here, Allison. And I have a bunch of questions for you because I know people are dying to know a lot of things about this. So if you're ready, let's dive in.
I am so ready. I'm so excited.
Okay. So how about we start with kind of you sharing the difference, like what is a brand and what is the difference between a business and a brand?
Such a good question. I think it's so important too, because I think when you think brand, you think logo or you think the visuals, but there's so much more to it than that. I would say with your business, your business is like the product. It's what you're actually selling and what you're actually, doing as a business, right? Your main offerings. Whereas a brand would be a little bit more of on the side of things of like how you're doing it, like how you're actually selling and the identity behind it and the personality behind it. I think, the experience that you're giving people, the feeling that you're giving people when they interact with you, there's so much like emotion connected to a brand, but it's directly, obviously, connected to your business because it's going to help you actually sell your product or do your thing, right? So I think that would be the distinction for me. And when I think about a brand, I think like what are you known for? What do people think of when they hear your name or your business name? I love that Jeff Bezos quote. Your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So
that gives me goosebumps, Allison.
Yeah,
it gives me goosebumps.
Yeah, it's kind of an oldie but a goodie at this point. I've heard it so many times, but I think it's really true. It's the experience you give people.
And like the emotion behind it, right? Like I know you touched on that, but how it makes you feel like as humans, like needing this connection, what we can do through branding that we can't do through a business is incredible. And like what we've seen influencers do on social media because of that has been really cool too. It's a really neat area out there. Yeah.
It's so powerful. It's so powerful. I think it's, if you don't have a brand, not that you can't do business, but you're not going to gain that trust and that loyalty from your customers and clients the way you would if you really had a solid brand in place.
Yeah, and it's been proven and time again that a brand will produce like higher profits than a business, like a business alone. So the brand, in addition to the business, like what that can actually do for someone or just for business in general is huge to your bottom line. People relate to brands much more than just a business alone. So it's really incredible. Like you're saying, like so needed. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about branding and visual marketing and like how they can impact a business?
Oh, yeah. So what I kind of think of is like when I think branding versus visual branding or visual marketing, I think of brand as this like umbrella. And then visual branding and visual marketing is like one piece under that umbrella. Then there's also, copywriting and client experience or company culture if you have a team and that sort of thing. So I feel like, what is really impactful is when you have all of these elements of your brand that are underneath that umbrella are very cohesive. There are, the values and personality shine through in each of the areas. And so I think, having that brand, of course, is really important first and foremost to have that, that solid understanding of who you are and how, the kind of experience you're giving. And, like we just talked about what people are saying about you when you're not in the room, like what do you want to be known for? But your visual branding and visual, styling and visual marketing is going to be anything that you're using to visually communicate who you are and visually reflect your brand. So thinking about your design styling with, these visual tools like color and your font selection and the photography you choose to use, even like the templates that you're using, thinking about Instagram and thinking about, email marketing and that sort of thing, like all of those little elements, hopefully, they'll be cohesive and we can talk about that a little more later. But that kind of, that together is your visual brand.
I think that's so great to bring it up that way. And you just explained it very, very well because I think it gets very confusing, the difference between visual branding, branding in general, and then business. And it can be very confusing, but they're also very different, but they work really well together. And when they're really cohesive, you have just such a strong business. So something to kind of bring up too, since you mentioned templates, is Canva, right? So Canva is this really awesome place where we can go and we can create templates. But in a way, I think if you're missing the mark there too, it's actually kind of doing like the reverse for you because you're sort of missing the mark with how you're bringing in fonts and how you're bringing in colors and that sort of thing. So I guess, can you touch a little bit on that?
Sure. So in terms of like accessing these different templates and everything from Canva and how to select the right one.
Yeah. Like what that looks like for, someone trying to do this on their own, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. It can be really overwhelming. Canva's this like very overwhelming space, but it's so powerful and so amazing at the same time. So I mean, I use it. I help my clients like you guys, get you set up with custom templates in Canva, but they do have a lot of really great options for templates that you can just grab and start using. So I think that, if you're starting there, I think a really great place to start is actually taking a step back and saying, okay, what's my vibe here? Like, what am I trying to communicate? And choosing, colors, choosing fonts, and choosing photography that matches that. This is kind of a shameless plug, but I do have a design style quiz. So if you're looking for some guidance on that, it's free on my site. Maybe you can link to it in the show notes or something so people can go grab it.
Absolutely.
But even if you're having trouble, that might be a good option, to kind of define what that looks like. What does your styling look like? What is the mood that you want to evoke? What personality do you want to have, and making sure that that's aligning to your brand, like we just talked about, but making those decisions and then just being really consistent and maybe going to Canva and saying, okay, here are a couple templates that really match that vibe. And here are a couple templates, that I can use for this and this, and then just be super consistent and just decide, okay, here's my color palette. Here are my fonts. Here are the templates I'm using, and just be super consistent. I would say with photography too, just like collecting some, free stock photos, for example, or I think Canva probably has some too, that you can just kind of collect and say, okay, this is kind of the vibe I'm going for. And I have to stick to this, because overall cohesiveness and consistency is just key to everything, I think.
Yeah, I so agree. And you know way more about this than I do. But the results that we see just when we're really consistent and when our branding is on point and we're hitting the right clients that way, like we're truly speaking to our audience and we're able to make such a bigger impact that way because we're reaching them visually, we're reaching them through our copywriting, we're reaching them, through the business. So it really is so impactful. So I have another question for you. So if you are like a newbie or you just are like, okay, when you think graphic design, when you think brand styling, you think, I have no money for this. Like, this is going to cost me $1 gazillion. And it just kind of like that paralysis because you don't know where to begin. What tips can you give someone that doesn't have the fund to invest in a professional brand stylist or graphic designer? And where can they start tackling this on their own?
Yeah. Well, I think just what we were talking about with Canva, I mean, there's so many amazing resources out there that can get you started. But I would say number one is to just don't worry too much. I think consistency and cohesiveness is, like I've said that a million times, I feel like, and we're not that far into this interview.
It's important. It's so important.
It's important. And I think
it's really,
when you're thinking about brand recognition, that's the key, right? Like when you are putting yourself out there, there's just a flood of other graphics that people are taking in every time they scroll through Instagram, for example, or in their inbox or whatever marketing tool you're using. And it's important that you want to stand out, but also it's that consistency that will get you remembered, and that will connect. I think a lot of times we think that consistency is boring, or like having the same templates all the time is boring, or, having the same colors even, or, fonts or whatever, insert here is boring, but it's not. It's actually building brand recognition because you're looking at it all the time, but your audience isn't. So it's good to, keep consistent, stick to it and make those decisions up front, but then stick to it. So I think when you're first starting, just making those decisions and saying, okay, I'm just going to get started with the color palette and these fonts. I don't even necessarily need a logo. If you do, find a template logo, go to Canva or go somewhere and buy a very inexpensive logo template and type in your name and, just get started. Just get started. Because I think that it holds a lot of people back. And I'm a perfectionist, so I totally get and being held back by those details.
I am preaching over and over again, like just start executing. Like you just have to start right. Because if you decide, you know what, I'm just going to practice, like if you do it for a couple weeks, a couple months, a year, you are that far behind. Just start executing and like really serving your clients well in whatever way that you can. So just to touch a little bit. So in the real estate world, there are a lot of like repurposing of the same sort of content for clients and a lot of just like sharing from the source, right? So I guess, would you recommend that they would take that information and plug it into a Canva template so it's on brand and everything looks really great in their grid or on their website or like via email, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the content itself obviously is very important. We want to highlight that content in your templates or, the designs that you're creating and your visual marketing, but you can make it look so branded to you using very simple tools like a consistent color palette, like, certain fonts. So it can look, even if the content is similar or, feels maybe not feels, but, resonates in kind of in the same way. Like the point of it is the same from real estate agent to real estate agent. It still can look and feel different by how it looks. And so I think that you could definitely do that. And that would be a great way to stand out, but yet you're communicating really good content that people are expecting from you.
I love that. And you're staying consistent, which is key. So tell us a little bit about, I know that you have a course that you've put together called Design Spirit. And I know it's geared towards like this person, I guess, or this particular small business owner who's kind of stuck or might not have the funds and doesn't really know where to go. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, thanks for asking.
Yeah, of course.
I am so proud of this course. And I think it's like you just said, it's really great for people who are in kind of DIY mode at the moment and just need a little bit of guidance, though. Not everybody is necessarily naturally design inclined, right? Or creatively inclined. However, I do think that everyone is creative. And I think that can be, I love that. I think people can be brought out in you. And I that's why I created Design Spirit. So Design Spirit has a series of modules and lessons that will help you learn a little bit more about design, develop your design eye, making sure that, you are thinking about the right things as you go in and you start implementing your visual marketing. So we'll learn things like the design principles, so kind of basic design principles, which actually carry through into interior design and other types of design. So those of you who, do have an interior design background, these might be really familiar to you. It's just kind of learning to implement them in a different way. And then I'll teach you about color theory and font selection, and again, how to be cohesive and consistent, some things to look for and things to do to kind of help you with that. I'll give you some exercises with that. So we really just dig into kind of the design fundamentals and then help you bring those into your design process whenever you sit down and create graphics and marketing collateral for your business.
That sounds amazing. And if we were not hiring you for everything, we would be doing that. But no, so what a great place to start and a good resource for them as well. And is it kind of like a go at your own pace sort of program, or how does it?
It's all self-paced. So it's something that is evergreen, as I call it. So you can refer back to it. I have lots of students who love to refer back to it. And when they need a refresher, if they're doing a big launch for something or creating a whole new, set of graphics or templates or something like that, they'll refer back to it. So it's really accessible, definitely for people who have never designed before. But even if you do have a little bit of design experience, it's a really great resource just as a refresher too. And you'll walk away definitely feeling more confident in your skills. I just love teaching it. It's so fun. Yeah.
So fun. That sounds amazing. Okay. So another question for you, Allison. Yes. What would you tell someone who's ready to invest? Like, I am not going to do Canva. I'm not going to take a course. I have no time. I've been running this business for a while. Like, I'm ready to invest. Like, what do I need to do to take that leap? And how do I find the right designer for me? Because can I just please say that for us and throughout all my small business experience and my friends, like finding that right fit is key. So what would you tell them?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think number one, it's so good. Like you just said, it's so good to find somebody who gets you and who is a good personality fit, because this is a really big deal. If you're handing a lot of trust over to this person. And so I always, like I've said at the beginning, I am so honored when someone trusts me with that, because it's a really big deal. Your business is your baby,
Yeah. It is. It is.
And it's like, it's a big deal, And I think that some people really have a hard time handing those reins over to somebody and trusting somebody. So I think it's important to, rightly so. So I think it's important to find a good personality fit. And, a lot of times, like in this case with you guys, I'm kind of a member of your team. Like you call upon me when you need anything. And so it's not just one and done sort of branding project.
Let me side note you here. We call upon her a lot. Allison, we need help. Allison, what do we do? Like, or when we expanded to the team, it was immediately, we have to call Allison. Like, we have to call her. We got to get on her schedule, like right now. So like, you're correct there.
Yeah. I mean, and maybe that's not what you really want. So that's okay too. But I think regardless, it's finding somebody who's a good personality fit and gets you. And I think along with that, of course, then the aesthetic. So every designer is going to be a little bit different and have their own look and feel. And yes, some are maybe more flexible than others in terms of what kind of styles naturally come out of them, But I think it is important to look at their portfolio and just get a sense of what the options are, and what you want to get clear on, like the kind of style you want and the style that you're looking for. And even if it's really generally speaking, and I think that that'll help you determine, okay, who might be a really good fit for what I'm looking for, and will produce something that I'm really happy with and connect with. So I think, the aesthetic is really big. And then of course, what they actually do, do they do just branding and do they do ongoing graphic design and like collateral work like I do? Some branding designers don't. So just knowing like what they do and what they can offer you, website design, everything like that. There's so many people that specialize in different things.
So I'm going to get a little woo-woo here because this is my jam.
Love it.
And that's kind of what I do. So I truly believe this to my core, that when you find people that you're working with, that you're aligned with, that like really share the same values as you, and they really like are cheering you on and want to see you as successful as possible, you have this whole team that like gets built around you that you didn't even know you were creating, and everything just kind of aligns. So Beth and I talk about this a lot, where we like the universe is literally showing up for us because we have surrounded ourselves with the right people. So I love that you said like finding the right fit is key. And I can't say that enough. Like if having the perfect fit for you is just so important. And I think as far as like long-term success as a business, like looking for that perfect fit in sort of every area, whether it be a brand stylist or, whether it be someone that's designing your website or your copywriting or really anything, it's so huge. Even the members you bring on your team. If you have a real estate team, same thing. So really like operating in alignment is where it's at. So,
right. And the final product is going to be so much better because there is that alignment. I think that, I love working for different kinds of people. So it's not like I have one specific niche. Sometimes, again, side note, that could be really helpful if you want to find somebody who specializes in real estate, for example. That could be really helpful, but that doesn't always matter, but regardless, just making sure that that alignment is there with whatever that means to you. I think you have to decide, what kind of person do I want to take this on, and what kind of person do I want on my team in this way? Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. I really, honestly, it's who do you want to deal with? Like, who do you want to work with? Who do you want to like be part of like how you're representing your company and your brand? So it's so important, and not everyone's going to be the best fit for each other. So really, it's finding that. So if you're going to invest and you're going to, go find a brand stylist or a graphic designer, or, have someone design your website or have someone copyright for you, like really searching through people, interview people, like find that fit that feels just right. For
Totally.
sure.
And the other, I think, part of this that a lot of people miss is looking at what their process is, or inquiring, like, what does their creative process look like? And does that align with what I want to experience? Because there are some branding designers who will give you one concept to choose from, for example. So like one, logo and kind of brand concept, and say, this is what I think is the best option for you. Other designers like me, I will give you a couple different options and say, here are two solid, directions for us to head. And other designers will give you a million. And not that that's always, nothing is good or bad. It's just a matter of what are you expecting out of it, and what is going to help you feel most confident in the end. So I think the process is so important. And there are a lot of designers who outline that on their site. So you can actually look at that and like read about it and ask them about it when you talk to them. So I would recommend that, just kind of taking a look at that and thinking about that.
I'm so glad that you brought that up, because the process behind it can feel so overwhelming as a small business owner. Just you're going into this and you're doing a million other things. So say you're a realtor or any other small business, and you are trying to juggle motherhood, your business. You might only be working part-time in real estate, and you have another full-time business, and you're like, I need to take this to the next level. And if you kind of need your hand held, like really, it's really hard and it's really daunting to think like, what is this process going to look like? So the awesome thing about you, Allison, I'm going to totally toot your own horn here, because like you are so organized and you get it. And like, you're able to ask the questions that we really like, help us like to really define what we're needing. And that part of the process with you is incredible. So we totally lucked out there. And I wish that for everyone that works with a brand stylist or graphic designer.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. I mean, and it's hard. Like there are a lot of moving pieces, and I think it is important. I think you nailed it. Like the asking the right questions is really important. And so it's hard. It's hard as a business owner. You have to have answers to a lot of those questions, but having someone guide you through that, I think, is really important and really helpful. I agree.
Yes. Okay, so let's dive into. So we are both mamas, newer mamas. Your little girl is 18 months,
Mhm.
and mine is 27. Is she 27 months? Something like that. Just over two. I can't remember now. And we are both juggling this. I'm like, lean away from the word balance because I think balance is such a weird word and balance doesn't exist and
Mhm.
I don't believe it. You just find what works really best for you and your family. But I want to hear how you balance or juggle or maneuver motherhood, marriage, and small business because you are like, this is your thing. You are busy, you are booked. Like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, balance. It's
It looks
elusive
like chaos, right? It's chaos.
That's so funny you say that because the thing that pops in my mind is like I have had to embrace the chaos, like embrace the fact that it's unpredictable. Like your day is going to be unpredictable. And for me, like we were just talking about my process, I love to be organized for my clients. It just is how my brain works. And I also want them to have a good experience. So I guess, it's just embracing the fact that I'm sometimes going to need to say, I need an extra day to get this to you. Or I need, Avery, I need you to watch some TV for like
Can you
30
please?
minutes. Which I've told myself before. I was like, I will not, I'm going to have a low screen time, situation over here.
Oh,
And we do overall, like we do pretty good. But, there's certain weeks that it's just not going to be like that. And it's not going to, nothing is ever perfect. Right. But I think I kind of shoot for the harmony, like that word harmony.
Oh,
More
I
than
love
balance.
that word. That's the word I need, harmony. I'm stealing
I
that from you.
I
Yeah,
heard
I'm
that
borrowing
somewhere.
it.
I don't remember what podcast I heard on it. I heard that on. But it really resonated with me because I think some weeks are going to be, a little busier. And then I just try to work into my schedule those weeks that are a little bit lighter, and I just I'm trying to figure that out. And it's an ever, ongoing thing. I'm forever going to be trying to balance that, but it's kind of accepting that too, that it's a work in progress and we just are doing our best and giving ourselves a lot of grace. And I think trying to find time for my hubby is like almost the hardest, like just one-on-one time. I don't know if you find that, but that's like the
it's
hardest part.
absolutely. It's the easiest one to kind of like push to the side. Like we'll catch up later, right? Well, what is that going to be in 6 months, right? So
Yes.
like business and then baby and then is there any time for me kind of thing. So yeah, finding harmony is key and just like giving yourself grace, right? Because every week is different. Like we just had a big launch week for the podcast just a little bit ago. And that was chaos. Like it's total chaos. Right before we jumped on the show, I have a 2-year-old who wants to say hi to Allison and is supposed to be napping. Like that's my reality. And for me, I have just like really accepted that you might hear Kaya on a Zoom call with the team or a coaching call. You just might hear her. And I absolutely respect my clients, but she's part of my life. And instead of like trying to fit her into my business life, I've done that. Like I fit business into my life.
Yes.
And that has been a huge thing for me. And before having her, it wasn't like that at all.
I totally get what you're saying. I definitely feel that too. Cause I get talking about like our business is our baby. That was so true for me. And I poured so much of my energy and focus in my business. I still do. I'm very happy that I did all that when I did because now I have this business with a strong foundation and I can like kind of, I think that's what's a really, really cool about running a small business that is small intentionally is that it is like malleable. Is that how you say that word?
Yeah.
But it
works for me.
It can shift. Like it can mold into what you want it to. Does that make sense? Like it can be really strong and sustainable and support your family, but it also can like flex with you and from week to week or year to year or whatever. So anyway, I totally get what you're saying. And I think that I've had to kind of make a shift myself to say my family is my priority and I have to kind of figure out a different way to do my business in a way that still fills me up and serves my clients really well, but it has to work. Like my family life has to work. And that's number one.
Absolutely. And, really asking for grace and giving yourself grace. Like you can still be this. In fact, you'll be even better. I think I am able to batch work better now, work more efficiently now. And I know I'm an amazing mom. Like, I'm just going to say, like, I know I give my daughter what she needs. I know I give her the time. And some weeks I'm like, okay, like there's a little bit of Winnie the Pooh because it's a bit much. Like, thank you, Winnie the Pooh, Springtime with Rue, for allowing the podcast to launch, because like that is how it launched. But I also know like I can take a week off and just like soak it in with her and spend it with her. And just to be okay with that. So I know there are a lot of small businesses, a lot of realtors that are juggling this as well. Like the baby on one hip, the business, and then the full-time business. And like, I just want you to know, like, we see you. And it doesn't have to be perfect, right? It just doesn't have to be perfect. Just finding what works for you.
Yep. And I think surrounding yourself with people who are very supportive, I think is so important. And that doesn't always mean, childcare. That means like emotional. Yeah. I mean, it means childcare too. And if you can get that help, that's amazing. Yeah. Props to my nanny.
Send it over.
To my nanny. Yeah. But it's like, it's just the emotional support, like people like you, Kristi, who are going through it and get it. Like you get it. And it's so important, I think, to surround yourself with those people, because you feel less alone. And you know that, if you need that little loving, like you got this, you're doing great. No one's perfect. You're doing great, and just keep going,
I'm so thankful to have you. I know I'm so thankful to have you. And the fact that our babes are like so close in age is really, really fun because we're both operating the small businesses with the like baby, and the juggle of it is super interesting. So I totally get it. And oh goodness. But so wow. Okay, well, that was a lot of info. I hope that everyone found that super helpful. I know I actually learned some stuff too, which is super exciting. So I want to know, okay, if you're stuck, like say someone's stuck and they don't know where to start, or they're just like totally overwhelmed by the process, that sort of thing. Let's give them three. Can you give them three actionable things that they can do to really kickstart that visual identity or that brand identity?
Yep. I would say number one, figure out your design style or the vibe that you want, and just make a decision. I know it can be overwhelming, but there's so many cool mood boards. Like go to Pinterest. I mean, I love-hate relationship with Pinterest, but it is such an amazing tool to just kind of brainstorm and collect, do a little mood board for yourself and just kind of figure out what your style is. And that will help you kind of make these decisions. So I think that, starting there, and again, I have that design style quiz, and it's I feel like I'm having another shameless plug, but it really is so helpful because it'll give you some tips on kind of once you figure out what it is, it'll give you some tips on how to like create that vibe in your visual marketing. I would say that's number one. And then number two, I think, choosing like fonts, colors, and photography. I would just say, making those decisions and saying, this is what I'm moving forward with. This is what I'm doing for now. This feels good to me because I have my design style, defined. And then just start being, I would say number three, just be consistent and cohesive with it. So don't be constantly shifting your color palette, even though it's so tempting to play, those of us, especially who like to get lost in Canva and play around. It is so important to be that, have that consistency and cohesiveness. So I think making those decisions and then just sticking to it, those are the three steps I would take. And I would say, side note number 4 maybe, or 3B, is don't worry about having a fancy logo and don't worry about having all of the stuff right away. I would say just like get the basics down and just start.
I love that. Yeah, just do it. Just do it. Like execute, right? Mm-hmm. I love that you said you don't have to have all that. Like sure, it's helpful. And yes, you need it at some point, but you really truly can start today. And start with these strategies that Allison just said, and you're going to see a huge shift already in creating this. So that is so awesome. So Allison, thank you so much for being here today. She has very generously offered us a code for her Design Spirit course. So what is that code? A discount code?
It is Bus Bench Babes, and you get $50 off the course. So feel free to dive in and take a look at the course and see if it's a good fit for you.
Thank you so much for doing that. We'll put that in our show notes so you guys can link to it and check it out. And just really, Allison, thank you so much for being here. This was really helpful. I actually learned some stuff too, and any chance to catch up with you is great. So this was so much fun. Thank you.
I adore you, Kristi. Thank you for having me. This was so fun.
So tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me. My website is AllieMarieDesign.com. That's ALLIE. And then you can find me on Instagram too at AllieMarie Design. That's kind of where I hang out when I have the time to do social media. But I do hang out there sometimes. So those are kind of the two places. And you can check out the course at designspiritcourse.com.
Awesome. Thank you, Allison, so much. This has been just incredible. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Whew. Okay, Bus Bench Babes, that was a lot. She is wicked smart, right? She knows her stuff. We adore Allison, and I hope that you were able to get some tips and tricks today on how you can get started and the next steps to take your business and brand to the next level. Thank you so much for being here. And remember, until next time, keep your face off a bus bench and keep being the badass boss babe that you are. Okay, girls, are you feeling as inspired as we are? We're over here cheering you on because you just finished another episode of the Girl, Get Your Face Off a Bus Bench podcast.
If you want more, head over to girlgetyourfaceoffabusbench.com for show notes and more episodes. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. They mean the world to us, and they're what keep us going.
Girl, thanks for being here.